Welcome to the Worshipped Woman podcast. I am your host, kellykristin. I am a life and relationship coach, deep healing facilitator, and subconscious change expert. On this podcast, we will dive deep into personal growth, transformation, and relationships, releasing patterns of toxicity, codependency, and people-pleasing as we explore what it means to be the worshipped woman. If you are ready to heal, embody your worth, and raise your standards in life and love, you are in the right place. I am so happy to have you here. Now, let's get started. Hello, sisters. Welcome back to another episode of the Worshipped Woman podcast. kellykristin here. I am so happy that you are here with me, and I'm very excited to get into today's episode. Something that comes up a lot for the women that I work with, women that I speak to, is this idea of not being able to trust yourself. And so anytime that you are in relationships that are toxic, or relationships that you wouldn't even maybe necessarily call toxic, but maybe there's just some self-betrayal going on, right? Like maybe things really aren't that great, but you just kind of stay and you push through, and you have this inner voice that's telling you this isn't right, this isn't wrong, and this is wrong, and yet you still stay, and you have this experience of betraying yourself, betraying your inner knowing, betraying your inner voice, betraying your intuition, whatever you want to call it. If you have that experience of betraying yourself over and over and over again, or if you are somebody who just doesn't really have boundaries. Maybe you've never learned what boundaries are. Maybe you need to establish boundaries with people in your life. The thing is most people don't ever really learn how to establish boundaries, right? We might have a feeling that somebody does something to us and we're like, oh, that's not okay. I don't like how I felt, but maybe we are not super confident and can't express ourselves. I mean, there's so many layers to this, right? There's a lot of things. And this comes out a lot in relationships where we have this lack of trust with ourselves. And I want to talk about that today because I get asked a lot in my programs, especially in my Heal, Rise, Thrive program, which is specifically about healing from toxic relationships and how to move forward in a new way. And a question that inevitably comes up is, okay, what do I look for? How do I prevent this from happening again? How do I not pick a toxic partner? And I actually think that there are multiple layers to that question. It's a pretty weighted question, right? And I think oftentimes people look to me or to any other teacher and say, like, tell me exactly what it is that I need to avoid. Tell me exactly what it is that I need to look for. What are these exact, give me all of the red flags or give me exactly what I need. And that is not exactly the best question to be asking. Because the truth is that people can present themselves to be one way for quite a while and maybe seem to even check all the boxes for you, and then maybe are not really that way because they were pretending, because they were, on their best behavior or whatever it was. So the question that is underneath of what do I need to look for is, how do I actually trust myself? That is the real question. And that's what it's actually going to take you forward, right? Because I can give you some things, and I actually have a podcast episode where I give you like my top 3 traits of a healthy partner. And I think that is very important, and you should definitely listen to that episode. Those are some just huge green flags for me and just creating a solid relationship. But those are what I want you to realize is that people can change. Even if you have a relationship for quite a while that seems like really good and healthy and all of these things, and then this person reveals something that is completely out of character, something that is completely not what you were expecting, or they end up being somebody that you never thought that they were, well, the question is, the question of what do I look for, that doesn't matter at that point. It's how do I trust myself? It's how do I trust myself enough to make the best decision for myself? That's the real question. That's what I want you to get you to realize. Because when you can trust yourself, when you know that you have your boundaries, you have your standards, and you know that you are going to back those up like no matter what, then you don't necessarily have to worry so much about what is this other person doing, right? I mean, the thing is in the world, you are never guaranteed love. Like, you're never guaranteed that somebody's going to love you and treat you great forever. You're never guaranteed that you're not going to meet somebody who is manipulative and harmful. Like, that is not a guarantee. And no matter how much work you do on yourself, I cannot guarantee that you are never going to meet somebody who could be possibly harmful, manipulative, whatever it is. But if you have the relationship with yourself, and you set boundaries and standards in your life, and you trust yourself to make the best decisions for you, then the other person and what they're doing doesn't matter. It's really actually all about you. And I really just cannot stress that enough. It is all about you. It's about you, the relationship you have with yourself. It's the standards that you set for yourself. I think a lot of times we can live in this fantasy idea of like, okay, well, one day I'm going to meet this partner and they're going to be perfect and they're going to, be everything that I need, and all of my problems and all of my issues are going to go away. And I just want to tell you, like, that is literally never going to happen. Relationships are the place where we are faced with things that we need to grow through and heal. And I don't care how healthy your partner is, there's still going to be times of conflict. There are still going to be times where you have to work through things, times where you're triggered. Like, that is a human thing. That is a human thing. Okay. Now, of course, there's a big difference between the amount of triggering that goes on within toxic relationships versus relationships that are much more healthy. A big difference, a mind-blowing difference. Okay. Mind-blowing. Like, when you actually do find a healthy partner and you're used to toxic partners, it actually feels unreal. Like, oh my God, relationships can be this easy. This is amazing. So that is definitely possible, but you are never ever there is no perfect partner. There is no perfect person. There is the relationship with yourself, number one. And do you trust yourself enough to make the best decisions for yourself? And do you have standards for yourself for how you will or will not be treated? Boundaries that, if they were to be crossed, are like absolutely no goes, never again things. This is very, very important. You cannot move forward trusting yourself if you don't put new boundaries and standards in for yourself, right? And so that's number one, is like, what are things that I will not ever, ever allow in my life again? What's something that if somebody does, I'm literally never going to allow this. Like, these are just walkaway behaviors, things that no matter what are just not okay with me. Do you have those things? Do you know what those things are for you? Because you actually get to choose what those things are, right? And if you don't have those things, or if that line, moves a lot, right? Like, okay, it's not okay for people to yell at me and call me names, but if my partner did it, well, they were just having a bad day, or they are having a rough time, or whatever it was. Like, do you make excuses for people? Where do you make excuses for people? What is that pattern for you, right? Notice how things feel in your body. And this is really how you're going to be able to cultivate trust with yourself, is building a relationship with your body. And our bodies are incredibly intelligent, okay? We have systems inside of our bodies that are working at a much faster rate than we can consciously process, okay? And our bodies literally give us signals and clues, like when something is not okay with us, but you have to build that relationship. What is your body telling you? If you're around a certain person and your body starts to tense up, well, does that mean something? If you are, around somebody and then like you go home afterwards and you feel really, really drained, well, like, are you paying attention to what that means? These are all signals from your body. So if you want to build trust with yourself, you actually have to start listening to what your body is telling you. That is huge, 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 especially in the context of relationships. Gut feelings, right? Like we call them gut feelings. A lot of people feel it in their gut. But where do you feel things inside of your body? Do you have a relationship with your body? The problem is a lot of times we're so disconnected from ourselves. We're so stuck in just going from one thing to the next, 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 not feeling our feelings, not feeling our emotions, that we just lose. It's like we lose knowledge on how to do that, and we have to relearn that. And it's really, really important to just sit with yourself and like ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Like check in with your body. What is your body feeling right now? You need to build a relationship with your body. That's how you're going to start to be able to tune into what your body's saying and then make decisions from there. That's really, really, really important part of trust, is relationship with your body. Now, another thing that's really important for trusting yourself, and, if you're somebody who has had a lot of, betraying yourself in the past, I really want you to do this, okay? Really, please. If you don't listen to anything else I say, just do this one thing. Make a small promise to yourself, a small daily promise to yourself, and keep it. A small daily promise. And it could be something like, I'm going to do 10 squats. Not 10 squats every hour, not 10 squats every 30 minutes, because people like to go overboard. They're like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym, and then I'm going to go to the gym every day for 30 days. And then by day 2, they're not at the gym and they're feeling bad for themselves. And then you reinforce the fact that you can't trust yourself. And that goes back to self-betrayal, right? We want to build self-trust. So I want you to pick something that feels like it's so easy to do, something that is, would take you no time. Like you don't have excuses, right? I don't want you to have excuses. Oh, I don't have time to do that. I don't have this, or I don't have that. It would literally be something really small. 5 minutes of meditation, walk around the block, whatever it is, something that you can do every day that you promise yourself you're going to do, and you show up and you do it. And I want you to do that for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, you're going to trust yourself more. And if you don't, you can, send me a message and say, hey, Kelly, you're crazy. I actually did it and I don't trust myself at all anymore. But I don't think that's going to happen. That's how you can start building trust with yourself, is keeping small little promises to yourself. Even if it seems insignificant, even if it seems like, oh, you know what, that sounds silly. It's not even a big deal. And again, don't pick something that is like, I'm going to meditate for an hour a day. No, you're not. Like, unless you've been meditating for 45 minutes every day and you're going to bump it up to an hour, okay. But don't do something that's so far out of reach, because that's actually part of how we can sabotage ourselves. Like if you hold a belief inside that you can't trust yourself, then you will actually do things to reinforce that belief, because that's how our subconscious works. So in order to break that habit, that's why I want you to make it something that is so easy and simple, and that no matter what, you could get it done. Like, 10 squats. You could do that literally as you're brushing your teeth, right? And I don't care what it is, but it just needs to be something that speaks to you, something that would make you feel good to do, something that maybe you've wanted to start doing, whatever it is. Just keep a small daily promise to yourself for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, maybe you want to add on something else, because it feels good to actually do this for yourself. And then the next thing you know, you're actually really taking care of yourself, and you're keeping your word to yourself more and more and more and more. This is how you are establishing trust with yourself. If you came at your life and you're like, you know what? My word is law. What I say goes. I'm going to do what I say. And that's how you approached things. Think about how different your life would be. Because oftentimes, especially women that have been in toxic relationships, we're so quick to keep promises to everybody else and feel like we have to do something for everybody else. And then we're the last on the list. And then you wonder why you fall into those relationship patterns where you keep betraying yourself over and over and over and over again, because you value other people more than you value yourself. And so you have to build the habit up of valuing yourself. And then, you know, you can trust yourself, and then you can start doing it with bigger and bigger things, right? Then it's like, okay, I can feel more confident stating my boundaries and actually being energetically behind them, because I am now a woman that knows how to trust myself. You see how these things all play? It's really, really simple to do, and it can make a huge, huge difference in your life if you just actually do it. Okay? And beyond that, if you really want to dive into the work of healing from toxic relationships, going through the subconscious change work, the embodiment work that's really going to help you integrate this into your system, I invite you to check out, I'm going to put a link in the show notes about my program, Heal, Rise, Thrive, that you will go through with a small group of women and myself. It is absolutely incredible. That's going to teach you not only how to trust yourself, set boundaries, set standards, but also really become a new woman, become a woman who thrives, because you do not have to suffer in your relationships. You can have amazing relationships, but that starts with the relationship with yourself. So I'll put that in the show notes if you want to check that out. I would love to speak to you about it. If you love today's episode, or if you know another sister that needs to hear it, I ask that you please share it. If you're listening, you can take a screenshot, tag me on Instagram. I am at Miss kellykristin. And if you really love it, you can set up a rating and review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would be so very grateful. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you soon.